So at Berkeley Haas, we see an awful lot of things changing in this world economy, as do many other people, and we've tried to focus on them and adjust our curriculum, rebalance the way we think about management education. Let me give you some examples. One fundamental change we hear from business after business, that the people that are bringing the huge value to the business are working upstream from the problem solving. We will always need problem solvers, but the people who can find the right problems, ask the right questions, right, and frame the right problems and questions, those people are generating really big value in this economy, particularly with all the change that's going on. So this problem framing skill becomes a fundamental one. And as we think about how we do that and how we teach that, we have a new required course in our curriculum. It's called problem finding and problem solving. And it gets into things. I'll give you an example. A wonderful firm started by a fellow by the name of Shai Agassi. It's called Better Place. Better Place thinks about, okay, historically we've thought about electric transportation, automobiles for example, and we've thought, how can we make those batteries last longer, keep their charge longer, etc. Shai Agassi essentially said, what if we pulled into a filling station and they took out the battery that was in my car and put in a new charged one, right? Well, that requires a whole new infrastructure, but it's a radically different way of thinking about what the problem is and how we need to solve it. So it takes a more systems approach, it reframes the problem, and admits a totally different set of solutions. That's just a perfect example, practical example of problem framing, and our new course gets at that. Another example of a deep trend we see in business, experimentation. So experimentation, one way that we like to put it is experimentation is winning out over planning. So the idea here is that it's getting harder and harder in rapidly fast-moving industries to be experimenting, or rather setting a sort of plan on the rails for the next 5 years. That more and more you have to think big but experiment small, put the smaller bets on the table, learn as much as you possibly can. Let me give you an example of what that looks like in our curriculum. So a statistics class, we call it data and decisions, right? You might imagine a traditional course that might say, look, here's a sample. Is it a good sample? Is it biased? Is it representative? What kinds of decisions can you make based on those data? Say inference, here's some tools, regression, what have you. Does that course start with this fundamental idea? Here's a decision I need to make. What data would I like to have to make that decision? What experiment could I run to get those data? Right? That shifts the mindset from data consumer to data producer, and that is a very, very different way to think about decision making and statistics. Here's a third trend that's very important. Organizations in the world are becoming flatter. Authority is becoming much more distributed, whether geographically or across business lines, etc. Increasingly, we need our leaders to be able to influence without authority or beyond their authority. In more and more organizations, people are being told, look, if you have to get that done by playing the authority card, you're not getting it done the right way. So how do we think about that in the curriculum? We have a course called Power and Politics that thinks just about that. So how do you influence without authority? How do you build alignment? How do you build followership? How do you make sure that people understand what needs to get done and how people need to pull together in order to do it? These things are fundamentally tied up with leadership itself, and we're teaching them in very fresh new ways. There are many other trends and changes that I could talk about. One example is opportunity recognition, right? We need to be able to recognize where the opportunities are, and there are skills, disciplined ways of doing that. Learning how to manage, being capable of managing complexity, ambiguity, conflict, fundamental, and we have new approaches in the curriculum for those things as well.